We saw a lot of Gareth Edwards films, so we were kind of looking through his show reel, and got very excited by what we were seeing, because what we were seeing in his show reels and stuff was his ability to create CG at an extraordinary budget, CGI at an extraordinary budget, and at the same time create drama. And those two don't always go together. So, and what we saw is in one particular short, which he won the Sci-Fi Channel Award for, was an extraordinary filmmaker. In that one short, we basically saw an extraordinary filmmaker. So we said to him, "Listen, let's do a movie together. It would be fantastic." And he said, "I've got this kind of low budget CG film," and we thought, great. We said, "Let's go. Let's shoot in about 3 months." And he went, "Whoa, hold on a second. That's a bit too quick. You know, you really want to do this?" So we said, "Sure, let's do it." And he got a bit scared because he thought, you know, were we real? Were we really going to do this? So we went off and did a film with the BBC called Attila the Hun, a TV film. And again, amazing CG effects for very little money. And then he came back and he said, "Were you serious?" And we went, "Absolutely, same thing. Let's shoot in about 3 months." So he said, "Great, let's do it."
But when I first seen Gareth's reel, it was mainly CGI, and I went, "Wow, that looks amazing! You know, great CGI work." Then I learned that he's done all this on his laptop on his own. I was just like, "No way, that is impossible!" You know, Hollywood-style effects on his own laptop, all done by himself for virtually nothing. And I got goosebumps. I thought, my God, there's something here, something very special.
Yeah.
The world's first monster movie or a big CGI film on a tiny budget. And it was a concept, wasn't it? It's actually a concept that we got enormously excited about.
Really excited. Yeah. And his sci-fi short he made in, what, 24 hours, I think?
Yeah.
You know, 24 hours with a budget of, I think, £5 or something like that. And it was one of the best shorts we've ever seen. It was just extraordinary. And we just thought, okay, so he's a real filmmaker who is doing something that we were really excited by, which is creating CG with no budget. And we thought, let's see if we can kind of, do something together. So you could see from his shorts and everything that there was something really special there, and we just thought, let's take a punt and go for it.
Yeah, and it was two halves, I think. One half was, I looked at the dramas for the BBC and all that. I was going, great effects in that, but it's no use just having an effects movie for the sake of an effects movie, And that's when he presented, as James said, the little sci-fi. He made it in 24 hours, and it was just full of atmosphere. And then the third part, when he came in and talked to us about movies and his ideas, you knew this guy had it instantly, because we meet a lot of people, and there's people that talk so unfocused about films, or they're not really sure of themselves, or they've not got a sense of what they want to say or do with a film. But every word what he said, you just realised that you're talking to someone that had a vision, a real strong vision, and it's got the ability and the tools to realise that. No, we acquired In Search of a Midnight Kiss when we were at the Edinburgh Film Festival, and it was a brilliant. I mean, they taught us how to make films for $15,000, And when we had the guys over talking about the experience of how they made that film, that was when the light bulb went on. He would be great for monsters. He would be someone that's been through this process. He's helped because he brings someone like Scoot. Brings a lot of ideas and a lot of questions and lots of character development. And for someone like Gareth, he was a great ally in the process of making this film.
Yeah, he was a very smart. Scooter's an incredibly smart guy, as well as being an incredibly talented guy, talented actor. So we just thought it would be really good to have someone like that who's not only been through that process and therefore has had a huge experience, but as Al said, is able to really bring something to the process. Now, it was also coupled with the fact that Gareth was looking for kind of a real life couple, and he is his girlfriend at the time, fiancée at the time, is also an extraordinarily talented actress. So it felt like a perfect combination. So we packed him off to LA and just said, okay, let's go and meet the guys and spend a bit of time with them. And he came back and, they all said, let's do it. When the guys came back from Mexico from shooting the film, there was hundreds of hours of footage. I mean, poor Colin, who's editing the film, was just like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? What are we all going to do?" And because it was shot like a documentary, it needs a kind of slightly different approach to the edit process. There isn't a script where the editor can go, "Okay, so this is what this scene needs to do, and this is what this scene." You're working off a treatment, so. So the original cut, I mean, God knows how long it was, 4.5 hours or something like that, at least. And so we had to spend a lot of time, I mean, together with Gareth, sitting down to work out, okay, what's the story that needs to be told, and how best we can tell it, in a film that ultimately needs to run for around 90 minutes. And it was a hard process. I mean, hard in that it took a long time. And I mean, I think all films go through this process. We certainly find that the edit process is one where the film is often discovered, and it goes through a process where you're at certain times going, what in God's name have we made? And there isn't a movie here. And everyone says that is part of the process of filmmaking. But because we're kind of used to that, we could also say to Gareth, look, don't worry, we're going to find it, we'll get there, and really kind of help along the way. And it was a very kind of key part of making that film. Is just really between us all, just really kind of working through, okay, what story do we want to tell, and how best to tell it. And then gradually it just got whittled down and down and down until we ended up with our 90-minute film, 90 minutes.
But it was an interesting process because there was no script. The story had to be found much more than traditionally when you were editing a film. But also the world had to be created, and the logic of that world had to be explained and make sense all the way through the film as well. And it constantly presented problems. Creating a logical world and a logical journey. And you're dealing with 3 different elements. It's a road movie, a love story, and a monster movie. And trying to make all of that cohesive and feel natural and believable. And it was a fight. It was a battle to achieve that.
And also making sure, from our perspective as producers, making sure that Gareth was being allowed to make the film he wanted to make. So, you have to kind of constantly, as a producer, you're trying to just allow him to make the film that is his movie, as it were, so that his film is shining through at the same time as, trying to kind of, create the story or help create the story. Yeah. But it was a great process, and we kind of got to the end of it, and were happy.
And what's great about being an independent, not delivering to a studio or anything like that as well, is that we locked the picture, and that's normally when you hand it over to a studio or something, and that's it. It goes on release. But we were fortunate enough to be in a position where we locked the picture, had our first screening, and went, God, we need to cut another few minutes off. Went to the world premiere at South by Southwest. You know what? Another 4 minutes need to come off. Went to Cannes and then took another 2 minutes off. So even from the locked picture to the final delivery that we're all happy with, there was actually 9 minutes that came out of that film, which I think again made a big difference to the feeling and the pace, and But and having said that, there's probably another movie in there that's much longer as well and more atmospheric, and it could have went all different ways. On the screen it says there will be a Jeep in the tree, and you got it, you absolutely seen it. I think it was the very hardest part of the process for Gareth, for sure, because we'd made the film, we started to get, this is really exciting, we think we have a film here, and now all the pressure was on him about what are these creatures going to look like now. And it's one thing having something written in the screen, and it's another thing planting them into the film, and do you believe this world now when the creatures are there? And it was a massive moment, a really big moment.
He came to us and he kind of said, he gave us all these cards of all these monsters and said, which monster do you like? And we looked at this, literally, I don't know, 150 different monsters, and we were just, you know, it doesn't make any difference. Exactly, it doesn't make any difference what we think. To be honest with you, it's got to just be, you know, which monster do you like? Because they all look good. We know that you're going to just make something crazy and brilliant. So it was you know, it was an I mean, we had seen a flavour of it when he did the tests for the film. He went off and did these tests so that we could kind of see how he could make the CG and, you know, and use the cameras and everything, because we'd use these very small little cameras. And he did these tests, which were also as though they were the best short films we'd seen. They were extraordinary. There was more atmosphere in those tests than certainly in most short films we see. And he'd kind of shown a bit of action with CG. And of course, there's no green screen or anything like that, which is the joy of it for everybody. It's just, you know, in his head, he can see that there's going to be a monster there or a plane there or a sign there or, you know, whatever. And that's, you know, that's what makes him so fantastic, 'cause he's got the ability to see it, shoot it, and direct it at the same time.
I think Monsters is a world first, you know, a micro budget feature that can be released internationally all over the world, that has quality and it's a monster movie, you know, it's a road movie and it's a love story and it's highly unique film, you know, and I think there's going to be a lot of people replicating it and replicating the approach to the filmmaking process, and it's just beginning to become a very exciting time for the liberation of filmmaking, really, isn't it?
I mean, his idea for it actually came when he first came to see us. I think when he first came to see us, it was 7 or 8 months before Cloverfield had come out. And then, of course, before District 9 had come out. So actually, he was way ahead of the curve on that. And I agree. I mean, for us, it was one of the most exciting filmmaking experiences ever, because it was incredibly liberating. And you just kind of just went with it, and you know, it just means it becomes incredibly creative. But I think this is, I agree with Al, it's going to be, this is, you know, we're going to see a lot more of this, and it's going to challenge some norms of Hollywood. It's kind of like, you know, this is like
action. They don't own action in CGI films anymore. It's becoming available to everyone, you know, which is the whole evolution of the filmmaking process. Has suddenly been a bit digital's helped a lot more people. The distribution is always a problem, but that's going to be broken down soon as well, you know.
We always believed in Gareth, and we always believed something extraordinary was going to happen. It was a huge punt, and you know, Allan and I had to just put you know, our head on the line for it. But we, you know, we genuinely believed in him and in the project, and it came out, you know, as a wonderful film, which we're really proud of.
Yeah, it's a beautiful and magical film and a great experience, and you know, as I say, a world first there. I think, you know, it really is, and may us want to make more films like that with that approach. Yeah.